Bonjour, mes élèves. We are going to learn how to conjugate verbs today. So first I want to introduce something to you here. You're going to do a drill, a practice activity after you learn how to conjugate verbs. It's going to take you to a website that I've managed to X out of, so I will take you back to it. I don't know how much of this you can see on my screen, but it's going to take you to this activity where you can practice what I'm about to teach you. I'm pretty sure you can do the activity just by clicking on the link, but if it tells you that you need a username, these are the usernames that the website generated for you. I did not make these up. So these say funny things like little bear and funny dog, and we've got red fish and all kinds of random stuff. So I did not make these up, but the website generated these for you. So if it says you need a username, it's that. And then the password is Milton Hershey, just all run together, all lowercase. I don't know if you're going to need the class code, but this is what it is. You can work solo on this website, but there are also games. So for example, my Spanish students have a game where if two kids with usernames log on at the same time, they can race each other to conjugate verbs and try to keep these flies from landing in grandma's rice and beans. So I'm sure it's not going to be rice and beans for the French one. I don't know what they would have for French, but there's different activities that you can do to help practice. Okay, so let's jump right in. This is the new vocabulary for CDO3. You'll notice that we're skipping CDO2 during virtual school. For CDO3, we've got some vocabulary here, and you'll notice that these are all actions. They're all activities. So let's have you repeat after me, and then we'll make sure that you understand what these all mean. Faire les devoirs. Étudier dans un lycée bilingue. Faire attention dans la salle de classe. Déjeuner à la cantine. Organiser le casier. Utiliser un ordinateur à la médiathèque. Discuter avec des amis dans la cour. Travailler en équipe. Okay, so these mean to do homework, to study in a bilingual school, to pay attention in the classroom, to eat lunch in the cafeteria, to organize the locker.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
Sorry, I'm trying to multitask. To use a computer in the multimedia library. To chat with classmates. And to work in a group. Now, that's all great, but you really can't do much with those phrases. So you can't really have a conversation saying to someone to study. That doesn't really mean anything to anyone. So what we're going to have to do to these verbs is something called conjugation. We're going to learn how to change the verbs so that we can tell who is actually doing the studying. We can ask questions and we can respond to them. We can say when we do things. So all of that is called conjugating. So this lesson is going to be about the vocabulary needed to conjugate and also the conjugation of one set of verbs called ER verbs in French. There are multiple different sets of verbs. The ones that we're going to be learning today are étudier, déjeuner, organiser, utiliser, discuter, and travailler. They all end with the same two letters, ER. But then you see the word for to do, faire. We're not going to learn that one until next week. So we'll learn that one later. Right now, I just want to focus on étudier, and we actually already know the word aimer, to like. Those are all ER verbs. So let's start out with some basic vocabulary, making sure you understand all of this before we go any farther. A verb is an action word. So examples of verbs are run, eat, talk, even be. Be is a verb. Things that you can't do to other people, like think, is a verb as well. All of those are actions, whether they're physical, like using energy actions, or just something mental or internal. Subject when we're talking about world language grammar. Now, I know the subject of an article or the subject of a movie is the main idea, but that is not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is the noun that does the action in a sentence. So if I said something like, we run, I talk, the subject here is going to be we or I. Another subject could be an outright name, like Marie sings. So Marie is the subject of that sentence. Or it can be an inanimate object. So the book is, like is interesting, is long, is whatever. In those cases, the book is going to be our subject. So the subject is the noun, the person, place, thing, or idea that does the action in the sentence. Now, a subject pronoun is specifically one of several short words that replaces the common noun or proper noun, and it is also the subject of the action. So subject pronouns would be this we and I, you, they. So it's I, which in French is je, you, which is tu, she, which is elle, etc. Those are your subject pronouns. Tense is the time period when the action takes place. So you've got present tense, which is happening now, past tense, which is already happened, future tense, which is will happen. What we're learning in French 1 is going to be this present tense. An infinitive is a verb in the dictionary form. It does not have a subject and it does not have a tense. In English, it starts with to. So to run, to eat, to talk. In French, it ends with a certain couple letters, either ER, IR, or RE. And again, we're going to focus, of course, on those ERs today. So it's going to be ends in the letters ER, the letters IR, and the letters RE. To conjugate is to change the spelling of a verb to match the subject. So for this example, let's take the word run. So the infinitive is going to be to run. That's an infinitive. But would this make sense as a sentence? I too run fast? That doesn't sound right. So what I need to do here is I need to actually conjugate the word run. So I too run fast is incorrect because to run is still an infinitive. So what I need to do to run is I need to turn it into run or runs, or if it's the past tense, it would be ran. So to conjugate the verb run, I would do I run, you run, he runs with an S, she runs, etc. This changing of the spelling of the verb, this adding an S for the he and she form, that is called conjugating a verb. And you're going to hear that word probably every single day for the rest of your French career. Stem. French verbs come apart. They have two pieces. So this is the root of the verb. I kept saying things like French verbs end in. They end in ER. They end in IR, etc. So if we go back to these words like étudier, see that ER there on the end? If I take that off of the verb, I remove those letters and throw them in the trash, What I'm left with is called the stem. That étudie, E-T-U-D-I, is the stem for that word. If I go down to organiser, I take off the ER. The stem is O-R-G-A-N-I-S. So the stem is the root of the verb without the ending. And that ending could either be the infinitive ending, E-R-I-R-R-E, or it could be one of our conjugation endings. If you take that off, what you're left with is the stem. The ending is the last few letters that match the subject pronoun and the tense. So, for example, that would be something like I sing, she sings. So this is the ending. That S there is the ending. Or if you talk about something that takes an ED, so I play, he plays, that S is the ending. Also, we played, that ED shows me that the action's over. That's the tense, the time period when the action takes place. Those are called the endings. In French, those endings are S's and T's and all kinds of different letters. So I'm about to show you what all of those are. Agreement is when a noun and verb match. That means the right ending that goes with the subject. So an example of something that doesn't agree would be something like we runs. So we runs, that's totally incorrect English because that S on the end only matches or agrees with he or she. We can't use it with I or you. So that right there is an example of not agreeing, but agreeing would be we run. That's the right spelling to go along with that subject. If any of that was confusing to you, please reach out to me because I'm going to use these words as I teach you more and more verbs throughout the rest of the semester. Okay, when we conjugate, that's changing the spelling of the verb to match the subject, there is some stuff that we need to know and some terms we use, and this thing here that we use is called a conjugation chart. So when we list all of the different endings that we can put on a verb, we have to put those words in a certain order. So let me just tell you what everything is here in this picture, and then we're going to go ahead and conjugate a verb ourselves. So this here is the infinitive. Remember, that was the form of the verb that doesn't match anything. It doesn't have a subject. It still has its infinitive ending on it. Then these are the subject pronouns, the je, tu, il, elle. They're also listed over here. Je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous. Those are your subject pronouns. Now, I can't possibly put every single subject that I'll ever run into in French on one tiny little chart because sometimes a sentence will be about the students, les élèves. Sometimes the subject will be a book, un livre. There's so many different things that could be the subject that I can't possibly list them all on this chart. So what I do is I summarize all the different things that I could possibly be talking about and replace all the common and proper nouns with il or elle, which are our subject pronouns. So if I'm saying Marie speaks, and I look at this chart and I say, I don't know which ending to put for Marie because I don't see Marie anywhere on this chart. Well, no, you don't, but you do see the subject pronoun she. So you know that's the form of the verb that you're going to need. So Marie talks would be Marie parle. You're going to use this E on the end, just like you would for the word she. Again, if that doesn't make sense, please reach out to me about subject pronouns, and I can explain that to you. It's important that you know what first, second, and third person are. So if you didn't learn these in your ELA class, let's just quickly go over them. First person is a sentence that has words like I or me or us or we. This is where the narrator is also a subject. He may be the only subject or he may be a subject along with some other people. Second person is going to have you, your. This is when the narrator is talking to the listener or the reader. Third person is everything else. So it's he, they, Mary, the dog, anything that is not the narrator and not the reader or listener. that is the subject. So the subject I should put here. The subject is not the narrator or the reader or listener. Singular, I'm not trying to condescend to you